Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Rise, Blood Hunter. So this movie came out in 2007 and it's an action horror movie that stars that of Lucy Liu. I love Lucy Liu. I never knew this movie existed. I never knew she was in a vampire movie and stuff. Michael Chiklis is also in this, and I'm a fan of his as well. And there are so many famous people in this movie, my God. And you know I said that before. If you have a movie and it's star-studded, most likely it's probably not gonna do well. And well, this movie got poor reviews. But here's the interesting thing. It's actually a pretty entertaining movie. Like you can watch it with some friends and just have a pretty much like a good time. A good time, not a great time. Because there are two major elements in this movie that are missing. One element is something that's very crucial. And what's so crucial about it is that this movie needs to explain some things. Because they give you some explanation for certain little things and it just makes you question it even more. Then there's a bunch of other stuff that happens in this movie and you ask the question why. And I said this before, if you gotta ask the question of why more than like, I don't know, 2 to 3 times over that, then you got a problem with your movie. And so you're constantly wondering, why does this happen? Why does that happen? Why does this person do this? Where are the vampire fangs at? This is the first vampire anything I have ever seen where vampires do not have fangs. And there's a reason for that. I'll get to that a little bit later. And so there are just a lot of stuff that happens in this movie that is so confusing, you need some explanation to it. You need a little bit more of a backstory. You need a little something. You know what I'm saying? The second thing this movie needs, and it's not crucial, but it would have helped. This movie needs some action. This movie needs some hand-to-hand combat, kick, fisticuffs, have a weapon in your hand action. This movie lacks that tremendously. There's a scuffle between like Lucy Liu and Mako. May Mako rest in peace. The dude who played Iroh in Avatar: Last Airbender, the animation series. This was the last project he did before he died. He threw a good punch for an old man that was months away from passing away. Dude, that dude could throw a punch. And so, this movie just needed action. There is no action whatsoever. The lead star has a miniature crossbow, like a little pistol crossbow, and that's about it. And you often ask, why exactly is she? Well, you know why, because she's a vampire hunter. But why that weapon out of everything else? Why not a gun? Why not a sword? You know what I'm saying? Like, why a teeny tiny little crossbow? She looks weird just holding it, walking around town killing vampires with that. And with that, the vampires seem to die just like a normal human. Okay, that's fine. I saw that in Van Helsing, the television series. But it still took a lot to kill them stinking vampires because they could regenerate. Here, it's just like you shoot a vampire in the chest with a teeny tiny skinny arrow. An arrow with an arrowhead at the end of it, and they die. Yet this one dude had to get shot twice and he still lived for a little bit longer. And then this one person got stabbed with it and never died. And, you just ask why. So, because a lot of stuff is not explained and there's no action, it makes for something that's much needed for the movie. Now, other than that, the premise is cool. And the acting is good, and it throw in a little humor here and there for levity. Most of the humor comes from that of like, these two idiots at the bar and then Lucy Liu. Lucy Liu is pretty funny in this. I know a lot of people criticize her acting, but I've said this before when I reviewed some television show she was on, Why Women Are Killed. She's a good actress. She has mostly two different tones to her. That stone cold exterior that she does, and then this more comedic, over the top type thing. You know what I'm saying? And she does both here. When she's a normal human, she's bubbly and everything, and then when she turns to a vampire, she's stone cold. But when she's stone cold, she's throwing out quips and everything. Two quips don't land very well because of the tone of her voice. She didn't say it with no oomph, but everything else in here she does is funny. She's a real highlight of this movie. And it's sad because like I said before, I like her as an actress. And some of the projects she picks just don't do well. Like, what was that thing called? Ballistic versus Silver. I remember when that came out on DVD. I saw it at Target when I was in college. I'm all like, Lucy Liu and Antonio Banderas. Oh, that's gotta be a great movie, right? And look at the cover. It looks so cool. So I'm all like, should I buy it on DVD without watching it first? I contemplated, and I decided to pass on it. And that's a good thing I did because I heard that this is considered one of the worst movies ever with a 0 rating and everything. I watched recently some of the action from it on YouTube. Some of it's okay, some of it's not. I felt so bad for her because she deserves so much more. She's a really good actress. She's funny. She's good with drama. And she's good with hand-to-hand combat. If you ever watch Charlie's Angels or Kill Bill, you know she can fight with a sword. And she's really good with martial arts. And I don't understand how in the world you're going to cast Lucy Liu in a Vampire Hunter movie and not have her do any type of martial arts. That don't make no sense whatsoever. But then when I found out who directed this, I'm like, that makes a little bit more sense. Sebastian Gutierrez. So that name rung in my head. I'm like, why does that sound so familiar? And that's because I looked him up when I reviewed The Eye, the 2008 movie with Jessica Alba. You know, that really sucky movie and everything? I'm all like, oh, that makes perfect sense. He also did Snakes on the Plane and everything. And I never seen that, so I don't know how that did. But, that Eye remake movie was just atrocious and everything. It was just atrocious. And, of course, because he made this, wrote and directed, of course, his girlfriend stars in the movie, Carla Gugino and everything. I like Carla Gugino. She's really good at acting. But I just now read that those two collab in a lot of projects. She stars in nearly everything he makes, or even if he directs something. Like she had a TV show and he directed an episode. If you thought James Gunn or Tim Burton puts their wife or girlfriend in all their projects, boy, you ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to these two. And I thought they was married at first, but no, they just been dating since 96. They said they're happy. Marriage is not important to them. So as long as they're happy, who cares? You know what I'm saying? But, and that's nice. She wants to star in his stuff, but some of his stuff don't do well. So you might want to find another director to star in their stuff. Just saying. And so, back to the whole Fang thing. When I was watching this, I'm all like, why do the vampires cut people on their neck and then drink the blood? Where are their fangs at? All vampires supposed to have fangs, man. Like, I ain't never seen one that doesn't. I don't remember Twilight that well. I only seen the first one and I only watched it once and I'll never do it again. And so I don't even know if they had fangs, but I'm pretty sure they probably did. And so I can respect the fact he wanted to do his own thing. You know what I'm saying? He has old school vampires where you can't see their reflection in the mirror. That's cool. I miss that stuff. But the whole no fang thing is weird. And the reason for that is because he finds it silly and campy. And so he said he loves vampire movies. He always wanted to make one, so he did. But he finds the idea of fangs and garlic to be too silly. So he wanted to do his own thing. All right, fine. But then when you watch this movie, you just assume it's like a cult of people who drink blood. But it's not. They are actually vampires and everything. And they have some form of immortality. Now, when I say there's a lot of famous people in here, boy, I'm not even joking. You got Lucy Liu. You got Michael Chiklis. You got Carla Gugino. You have James D. Archie. The dude who was Tony Stark's butler in the Agent Carter show, right? You got Margot Harshman, who was in Even Stevens. You have Robert Foster. You have Marco. You have Alan Rich. May he rest in peace. And may Marco rest in peace. You got Hope McCallery. Why does that sound so familiar? You have, I don't know who that is. You have Eden Henson. You have Paul Caswell. You have Simon Rex of all people. Nick Lachey. From that one boy band who used to be married to Jessica Simpson. You have Cameron Richardson. You have Cameron Goodman. Wait, who's that person's name I said? Holt. Is that the dude who from the Mighty Ducks movie and plays in the Daredevil series? Foggy. He's in here, but I don't know which one is his name. Then you have disgusting Marilyn Manson, and then you have scumbag bigot Samari Armstrong. And so there's a lot of famous people up in this movie and stuff, man. And that's always a red flag. But but they do a good job of acting in here, especially Nick Lachey. I was surprised. He's a singer. And so this movie is about a bunch of people going missing, right? And it's the result of vampires. And the cop, played by Michael Chiklis, his daughter Margot has been kidnapped. And I think there was pictures of her found dead or something like that. So he's upset. And there's a reporter. And the reporter is played by Lucy Liu's character, Sadie. So she's a very bubbly person and she's investigating, but she gets kidnapped by the vampires. Now, before the movie, in the beginning of the movie, you actually see her with short hair, right? And she lures this prostitute into a cage, and you're like, what's going on? And then it's for this old man in a wheelchair, but then she kills the old man with a wheelchair with a crossbow and tells the girl to get out of here, which is funny because she's dangling upside down, topless. By the way, Lucy Liu gets nude in this movie a lot, and I mean a lot. I was not expecting to see that because Lucy Liu don't do that. And so after she gets attacked by the vampires by Eve, played by Carla, and Bishop, played by James, they cut her, bite her, and then they sexually assault her and everything. Then she's in a body bag and she wakes up in the morgue. And as she's awakened from the morgue, there's a man staring her down and following her. Now, we don't know who this man is at first, but he's basically about to be her Yoda. And so, when we see her, she's disoriented, she's upset, We see her call her mom on a payphone, but the mom is upset and the other daughter, just hangs up the phone. So we all don't know what the heck is going on between the mother, daughter, and sister, and it's never explained. You gotta explain that stuff, Sebastian. Just don't add it in the movie, 'cause you can just leave it out. So then she goes to like a homeless shelter. Why doesn't she go home? She has a home. Why don't she go there? You gotta explain that, Sebastian. So then all of a sudden she gets a craving and she kills one of the homeless people who's asleep by biting his arm, the flesh off, and drinking his blood. Remember, no fangs. And so it's like, how does she know she's a vampire? You gotta explain that stuff, Sebastian. Seriously, like, how does she know? And so, like, then you get kind of like flashbacks and everything of the people like biting her as they're assaulting her. She's naked, she's bloody. But in this world, nobody knows what a vampire is. I don't even think they say the name vampire. So how does she know she's a vampire? How does she know she needs to drink blood? There are no fangs. You gotta explain that, Sebastian. And so, like, then the dude, he finds her, and all of a sudden I think she passes out, and then he tells her, you must fight. I don't even know if he says the word vampire, but he's all like, I must train you and all this other stuff, like only you can defeat them. And I'm all like, she's just taking what this man's saying at face value. Why? Is she really that gullible? Is she really just gonna believe a complete stranger? You gotta explain that, Sebastian. And so now she's been Yoda-fied, or Luke Skywalker-fied, and he gives her a crossbow. And she goes, because she wants revenge on Bishop for what he did to her. So she starts like looking for him, going after all the vampire people that was associated with him. She goes after the old man in the wheelchair, the bodyguard dude. She even takes out Eve. Eve is the one who explains a little bit more to her. Eve tells her when we bite people and drain their blood, it takes 3 days for them to come back alive. But for some reason, there's something different with, what did I say her name was? Sadie. There's something different about her. She was a fighter. So that means she's special. But why is she special? You gotta explain that, Sebastian. And so then they ask like Eve likes her and everything and cares for her. Well, Sadie don't care and kills her anyway. So then she's just tracking him down left and right. She goes to the butler. By the way, I don't appreciate Marco being an Asian butler to a white man. I'm sorry, but I found that to be racist. And so she comes in past with the detective dude. So Detective Clyde and everything, he doesn't know what's going on, but he's tracking Sadie because she had contact with the prostitute who set her up and all this other stuff. So he finds her and, handcuffs her. She gets out. But before all that happens, this was so weird, right? She's driving around and she sees a hitchhiker. At first, she wasn't going to stop, but she decides to. Then she gets hungry again. And she starts asking him, got a wife, got kids, got a girlfriend, anybody going to forget about you? He's like, nope. So what does? She kills the man and she drinks his blood. Then she's all upset because she doesn't like the idea of drinking blood and killing people. Now, that right there, she told the Yoda dude, like, she doesn't want to drink blood, but she has to. So we see some internal struggle with her a little bit as she hollers and screams after drinking the dude's blood and killing him. We should have got more of that. We should have got her, like, being bloodthirsty, tempted to bite somebody, but doesn't, and has the urge and just finally does it. She can't come to grip with what she's doing, and she can't fight the desire to want to drink blood. We should have seen more of that. If they can do that in a television show, all these vampire shows, they could have done it here. Which this should have been a television series and not a movie. And so like I said before, she comes into contact with the cop. He shoots her in the back and he pulls the slugs out of her. And so she proves him, hey, look, I'm a vampire, I can live and everything. Because she tried to kill herself. She jumped off a building and everything. And she can't die like that. Somehow you can only die for getting shot in the chest. You got to explain that, Sebastian. And so, then there are these two guys at the bar that he hired to bring her there as a comedic moment and everything. And so as she's looking for what's his face, he kidnaps her, makes her go completely nude, hangs her upside down, drains the blood from her like he did some other people. But yet she doesn't die again, but these other people did. She is saved by Detective Clyde, and there he finds his daughter, played by Margot. And so I'm all like, oh, she's still alive. But what he said to her before is interesting. She's been groomed. So she hates her father for unknown reasons because Bishop groomed her and everything. So like, your dad's terrible, he doesn't love you, this and that. Only I love you, and I give it to you good at night, and you know what I'm saying, and that's all you need, girl. And so she literally tries to kill her dad, and she shoots him in the chest, and he goes down. So what's her name? Sadie finishes her off. Then she finds what's his face. And that's when she gets knocked out, captured. Then the detective, he fights. He actually throws some punches to the vampire dude. I'm like, oh, so there is a little bit of action, but not much. But he can't take on the vampire dude. But he holds him in a chokehold long enough for Sadie to get an arrow and stab it in the Bishop dude's chest. And I'm like, wait, how did the cop survive? He's all like, I'm wearing a bulletproof vest. I'm like, oh. So then Sadie told the cop dude earlier, look, man, if I find your daughter, no, wait, if I kill the man who killed your daughter, you have to kill me because I don't want to live no more. And so she doesn't want to live no more. Like, she doesn't want to be immortal. She doesn't want to fight other vampires. She hates the idea of being a vampire. You don't really get the sense she hates being a vampire because she doesn't really say it all that much, but we do know she hates drinking blood. And so, she got her revenge, and now she just wants to die, right? So he does what she says. And then all of a sudden, she's in the morgue. And you think, oh, wow, she's not going to wake up because she got stabbed in the chest. That's how you kill these vampires. Nope, she kicks the door open. How did she survive that? She's the only vampire to survive getting an arrow to the chest, but no other vampire does. You gotta explain that, Sebastian. And so, yeah, it's one of these things that where it's an enjoyable movie. You can sit down, you can have a little fun and everything, you know what I'm saying? It's not that terrible. But there are some things that, just make it flawed, which is why you have the poor reviews. And it was just like a little bit of tweaking here and there. It could have been very awesome. This could have been on par with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Blade, even probably Underworld. They never explain what caused vampires to be vampires. Like, how are they here? You know what I'm saying? And it's never explained. And you gotta explain that, Sebastian. So this is one of these things that where sometimes I wish the writer wasn't always the director. Sometimes you need two people to do that sometimes. Or you need somebody to come in and polish some stuff. But it is what it is. And you can watch it on Tubi. I saw pictures online where it has it on DVD. Once again, I never knew this existed. Never. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.